baby. We are back. Happy Saturday to you. I hope you are having an amazing Saturday and, like I always say, an amazing weekend as well. My name is Don Terrell, and I want to welcome you to another great episode of The Color of Motion, where I like to say, hey, stories come in all shades. And I highlight people of color and diverse backgrounds in the industry of motion graphics, animation, visual effects, cartoons, and comics. This space that, after 100 and plus something episodes, I'm crazy by now. You know the drill. Hop into the comments. Make sure that you say, hey, where you tuning in from and all of that good stuff. Also, make sure that you hop on over to the Facebook group community, facebook.com/groups/The Color of Motion. Get plugged in, join the family. We're having a lot of fun over there, having great conversation, sharing industry news, and I definitely don't want you to miss out on anything. So again, make sure you hop on over to facebook.com/groups/The Color of Motion and join us. Also, make sure that you connect with me on all my social channels right here. I'm getting pretty good at pointing in the right direction. Definitely want to hear from you. Let me know what you think of the show, any suggestions. I'm always looking to get feedback because my goal is to always make the show the best that I can possibly make it. So I can't not do that without hearing from you. So right there is where you can connect with me. Let me know your thoughts as well. Also, the store is open, as I like to say. Make sure that you hop on over to the store, pick you up some swag items. We have some great hoodies, shirts, mugs, constantly putting great stuff on there. My goal is to see as many people with Color of Motion gear as possible. So make sure you hop on over to colorofmotion.net/swag, pick you up something. The only request I have is that if you do, take a snapshot of yourself, send it to me so that I can share it on the show, share it on the social channels, and make you a superstar that you are. What else? Man, oh man. I hope everybody is doing well. Like I said, here where I'm at, we're going through a kind of a little heat wave here for sure. But also, definitely don't want to miss out on this. Want to thank the sponsor of today's episode. Where is it at? Where is it? Restream. That's the platform that we use to stream out to all the platforms. YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook group, the website. We use Restream to do that. If you are a streamer and you stream out and you have multiple platforms, like I said, those are just a few that I use. They are a great software to use. Definitely love using them. Great team, great support, and they are a magnificent piece of software. So make sure you hop on over to Restream, check them out. Want to thank them for always supporting the show as well. All right, man. I've been so super looking forward to this episode. And my next guest, we're going to have a little fun with that. And I'm not going to kind of drag it out any further. I think we can kind of get this show on the road for sure. So, what do you say we get this train on the tracks, huh? Yep. We are back. We are back and getting ready to get this show on the road. All right. Without further ado, let me introduce my next guest. Like I said, I've been so looking forward to having her on the show, and she's finally graced us with her time. So let's have some fun here. She is a creative strategist, recruiter, and primetime television Emmy award winning animator, and is most noted for her animation on over 75 episodes and promos of the effects series Archer, which I really kind of liked Archer. Archer was pretty funny. She has also created content for NBC's 30 Rock, Discovery Channel, Apple, MTV, I Am Other, Animation, Domination, ComicCon San Diego, Georgia Public Broadcasting, PBS, and Captain Planet's Planeteer movie. I remember Captain Planet. In 2015, she founded Georgia's first and largest animation resource and staffing agency, My Animation Life, Mall. She and her team work to find creative strategies and solutions for both those who create animations and those who wish to have animations created. She uses her education in animation from Savannah College of Art and Design, SCAD, and business from Harvard University online towards advancing emerging artists in film and digital media in creative employment, business development, and animation production and pitching. In addition, she is on the board of directors for ASIFA South, one of the largest international animation societies in the southeastern United States, and a judge for the Emmy Awards. Most recently, she was an artist recruiter on 12 animated feature films for Netflix Animation. Everybody, please help me welcome my very special guest and friend, Allyssa A Lewis. Allyssa, so nice. Doesn't she look lovely, everybody? Just radiant.
Thank you.
Man, oh man. Jeez, I need to take well, I'll have it on video. I don't need to take a snapshot. Got it on video. So glad to finally get you on the show and sit down and have a conversation with you. Thank you so much for coming on and just sharing with us your knowledge, your skill, your journey through this industry so far.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate getting to come on this show.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to start off by asking you, what was it that initially kind of got you interested in the industry of animation in the first place?
When I was 2 years old, I was watching Bugs Bunny being drawn to life with my mother, and it was the first time I'd ever realized that there was a job for making the content that I was watching. When that hand came in on the screen and I just saw it with a pencil, I thought, oh my gosh, I want to do that. And I told my mother, and we just went from there. I just continued trying my best to animate on my own because my family moved a lot and
Yeah.
I couldn't get into um, proper art classes. But when I got to college, first I went to Wesleyan and then I went to SCAD. But when I finally got into college, they taught me more about what are some traditional methods of animating, and then I was able to start my career.
Yeah. So you never had any illusion of doing anything other than that. You didn't think about, oh, I'll do this or going into that. Your mother always kind of encouraged that with you.
I had some other things. Mostly it was animation. That's what I wanted to do. And for my family, they were like, oh no, be an athlete. Or if you're not going to be an athlete, why don't you look into legal studies? Or why don't you look into medical studies, the
Something,
classic stuff?
yeah, something more stable for sure.
Yeah, or business.
Well, is that why you went and got your degree at Harvard, or was it,
Oh,
or did they join kind of together your passion for animation and what you wanted to do in animation, and you just thought, well, maybe a business kind of course or degree would kind of benefit that or kind of help that in some way?
So I went the non-degree seeking route with Harvard. They have a lot of courses that they offer online, and what I wanted to get was to round out my education. I can go to art school and I can learn business there, and I did. And I can also go to a traditional business school and learn more about that. And what I really wanted to focus on with Harvard was law. Learn more about how law functions in our everyday life and how that can also be applied to the arts.
Gotcha, gotcha. So how has that kind of helped you so far in what you're doing? Just the type of law that you learned through Harvard and the business skills that you picked up through art school. How have they kind of meshed well together?
Mm. It's taught me to ask a lot more questions. You know, in art school, we learn about collaboration. And it's great when you're in a studio setting or even when you're freelancing to collaborate with other artists to get a project done. But on the back end, if you don't have your legal documents together, if you don't creatively put together those collaborations so that you won't have any backlash in the future
Yeah,
from collaborating with that artist, then you can run into a lot of trouble.
yeah,
There are things that I really wanted to focus on, like what are some hiring things I need to think about with each country, what are some regulations that are normal in other parts of the world that are not in the United States? And even learning more about the United States. Like, what are some things that are mandatory that we just at mass are not doing as artists?
yeah, yeah. No, for sure. Um, for your perspective, what do you feel like, and from the time that you've been in it so far, what do you feel like the industry is lacking or needs as a whole?
When I think about the industry, I really think of it from my perspective. You can you can read animation news, you can read articles from around the world, but what I feel informs me the most is the experiences I've had in studios, connecting with studios, working with networks, and working independently. And I feel we really lack a sense of just pushing each other up no matter what it looks like. We have a lot of new technology coming out, and we have different kinds of artists coming out, and we have different ways of getting our work done. And I hear so many people just tearing each other down during this moment. And there's so much conflict, and it's not something that just happened overnight. I would say in the past there was this sense of elitism and this cliquishness where you're on the in crowd or you're not in the in crowd. You see it in employment with
Yeah,
who you know helping you get hired, and if you don't know the right people and they can't say the right things about you, then it's more difficult for you. The same thing with picking up projects. If you are pitching an idea and you have a strong connection to people who are already able to say yes, then it's easier than somebody who's very talented but doesn't have that same network. And there are people who safeguard that because it is that kind of environment. People are protecting their standing,
yeah,
and I see that also with new ways of technology where people want to protect their standing, even if that means taking down another
yeah,
artist.
yeah, yeah, for sure. You're kind of, uh, especially with with your company, Mall. You work on kind of both sides with finding artists and then working with artists that are looking to kind of pitch and get their project. Is there one that's more heavier than the other that you see, or do you see just as many people now coming to pitch their own ideas or present their own ideas, especially in this time where we're starting to see a lot more content creators create their own
Mhm.
ideas and their own IPs and just kind of take them to different studios to control, as opposed to going in and they're just trying to find an animation position or some kind of position within the company.
Yes, with my company, Mal, we try to keep it as balanced as possible, helping both the artists that want to get into the industry and people who want artists to help them create their projects. I do see a lot more people making their own content, myself included.
Yeah.
Before, I would have told you, I'm just a hand for hire. I just animate, I just make the art, I just help other people do it. I don't have my own story or my own idea. But when I reflect on why I didn't, it's really rooted in this deep-seated notion that no one would want to hear my story. It's
Mm,
too unique, it's too boring, it's too whatever it is. There's no room for it. And with these waves of more and more people coming out telling their unique, crazy, wacky, boring, silly stories, and it going someplace, it finding an audience that really enjoys what they're putting out there. It's
yeah,
inspired me to even share more of my life and more of my story and more of my perspective. So I
yeah,
see more and more people getting on that bandwagon of sharing their own perspectives.
yeah, yeah. No, and it's odd that well, not odd, but interesting that you say that you. I guess everybody thinks, well, what have I got to say, or is anybody going to listen? I thought that myself when I started this show. Is anybody going to watch this, or is anybody going to really get into it? But I quickly learned that you will find your tribe. There's always a tribe of people that are interested in the things you're doing, the perspective that you have. So it just may take a while but there always are going to be people that resonate with your content. So that's great that you're doing that. And what is the type of stories that you're wanting to tell? The idea, not to give your original
Yeah.
ideas away, but I mean, are there more children's? Are they more adults? What kind of animations or and it may not even be animation. It could be live stuff. You've obviously done, live action type of projects. What are the projects? Are they live action? Are they more animation? Is it for children? Is it more adult thing? Archer was an more adult style animation, which was great. And some people like to tend to stay, they're more comfortable in one space or the other. Is there a space that, would like to tell your stories from?
Right now, I'm doing comics, and I love comics because I can do them anywhere. I can just take out a notebook and start doodling in it, and then scan those in, and they become something very quickly versus animating it, which takes a little bit more planning.
Yeah.
So right now, they're comics. I'd love to see them animated one day, and they are for teens and adults.
Okay. Okay. Nice. Awesome. Awesome. And so when you went to SCAD and then was your illusion to be an animator into animation, and what was that thing that moved you kind of more into the recruiting side and really working
Mm.
with the artists?
Yes, so I went in full intentions to be an animator. I came from a lot of small towns. I want to call them towns, but really I was just living on several military bases, and those are like small towns.
Yeah.
So hopping from base to base, I had really small dreams, and I only can say that, looking back. I wanted to be that exact person who drew Bugs Bunny and brought him to life. I wanted to be that hand sitting there drawing at a desk, and that would be my entire life. Then I'm 90, and
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
that's it. Uh, but then when I got to that position, very quickly you realize that there's more to life. I start looking around. I see people with different titles. I see
Yeah.
people evolving their careers into different things that are just as fascinating and as fun as what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
With recruiting, I kind of rolled into that. I rolled into a lot of things, even with my company, my animation life. I had um, I'd been in a senior portfolio class. This is before working with Archer and with other studios. I was in that senior portfolio class, and I had a blast in it. The professor was wonderful. But in the last 2 weeks, he goes, "Oh, you know what? We should start using the syllabus." So
So he
I
was
was
teaching
surprised. I'm
off
like,
syllabus.
"Yeah, this whole time we haven't been doing anything on the syllabus. No wonder we've been having so much fun."
Oh man.
And he said, "You've got to contact 3 people um, to apply to a job, make your resume, your cover letter, a website, a business card, all this stuff." I did not have most of that stuff, like the website and know who to contact and all of that. All the information and all those resources I needed, and I didn't know where to get them from. So I leaned on my peers. I asked, like, "Oh, who did you apply to? And
Yeah.
how did you figure out this or that?" And when people knew things, they kept it close to their chest. They did not share it at all.
Go
They're
find your
more
own
like,
information.
they're like, oh, just like look it up. Just you'll figure it out. And I wasn't figuring it out. That's why I'm asking you. Uh, Google was not very advanced at that time, and I
Oh
could not
man.
figure out where these studios were. So I had to go on foot and meet people and one at a time figure out these resources. So I started making a resource database of all the studios, the events going on, um, different artists in the area, stuff like that. And I decided to release it all for free on our site. And at first, the My Animation Life meetings were just in my house, and it was
Yeah.
just an information share. Just a bunch of people getting together and saying, I found out this company is hiring. I found out these techniques work best in this program, and just dumping information like that. I met people that wanted jobs in the industry, and I would
Yeah.
try to connect them just one on one with other people. And I met people who needed artists and either had had a bad experience or didn't know who to turn to, and I would
Yeah.
connect them one on one. And then that little hobby turned into something I did more frequently. And there came a time when I needed to just immediately leave and start this company when parting with Floyd County Productions that has Archer. And then I just went from there. At first, I thought, okay, I've been doing this on the side for 8 years. It'll be fine. No, it was a tsunami of things you need to run a business. You need
So I've
so much
heard.
more knowledge. And my mom has had me on the beat doing sales and doing stuff for her business since I was in elementary school. I thought, okay, I've got this business thing down. No. And then comes in Harvard Online. There comes in all these other people that were so instrumental in helping me start this business.
Oh man.
With recruiting for Netflix, I had been recruiting for about 7 years before then for my company, and before then, 8 years just on the side. So all that information had come together with a creative background, like I'd done animation before,
Yeah.
with an educational background of like teaching people, I'd done instruction, and with the background of the legal. And so that is what they were looking for, and that's what I had, and that's how I joined that team.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And it's so interesting, kind of backtracking to what you were saying as far as initially you were, reaching out, trying to get help for information, and everybody was keeping it close to the vest. It seems like, the people that I've talked to, they're very open about helping people with that. How was your experience, and what was your experience like going through SCAD? Because I'm always curious. Like I said,
Mm,
I've had on a lot of SCAD artists, people that have gone in Savannah. I went to the Art Institute, which was more not animation, but it was more traditional graphic design. But I would like to know how was your experience while going through SCAD, and what you kind of took away from that whole
mm.
experience of going to SCAD.
It was a mixed bag. I had some great experiences that I feel really shaped my career, and then I had some experiences that I feel really like held me like an anchor.
Mm,
I really enjoy the fact that SCAD is a school where they are trying their best to get you career ready. There are not as many art schools out there, especially at that time, that were
yeah.
trying to get you job ready. Many of them were trying to get you ready to be an artist who, paints what they feel or something like that. While SCAD was like, no, we want you working somewhere. We want you earning a livable wage. And that was very beneficial because
Yeah.
I learned about keeping on schedule, putting your emotions aside to collaborate with a client. Those kind of things are really important.
Yeah.
The thing that I say I take away the most from SCAD is the structure, um, and then second, the networking, and then third would be the drive. And the drive comes from the
Yeah.
worst part, which is how much it costs. It was so
Entirely. Yeah. Yeah.
expensive. Yes, I'm the first person in my family to go to college, and we come from a Caribbean background. Nobody was going to art school, especially. And
Yeah.
it was really challenging. I struggled even to fill out my application. I barely could send an email when I was doing the work. I wasn't sure how to apply for scholarships. There's just so many hurdles. And for better or worse, they let me in, even with all those obstacles in front of me. And I just had to figure it out. Um, so, yes, that's what I would say I take away.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And we just mentioned that you went to took Harvard Online and got your business degree, and I think that was kind of the one thing that I took away from the Art Institute. And like I said, it's been some years, so maybe it's changed since then. They didn't really they. It seemed like that's all they were teaching you was to get into a company and get a job, as opposed to teaching you the business and how, if you were thinking about making a business out of it, how to run a business. Do you think that's
Mhm.
necessary? Kind of a necessary portion of, and I don't know if SCAD offers that or not, or if they're just solely focused on getting you prepared to get into a studio. Um, do you feel like that's a kind of a good portion to have for those ones that are looking to do their own thing, but just like you said, they don't know how to build a business, run a business. There's so many things to learning about a business, the business side of animation or the business side of being a creative.
Yes, I think it's essential. I don't think that an artist who is not like, the Rembrandt in your field is really going to thrive in the
Yeah,
industry without understanding the business. Now, you don't have to do like me and
yeah,
make an agency because
yeah,
that was very complicated. I wasn't doing all of the art. I was contracting out, and there's so much more you have to consider then.
yeah,
But learning how to freelance, learning how to make a dollar, if you can
yeah,
make a dollar on your
yeah,
own, you have so
yeah,
much more confidence when you're working for someone else. If somebody lets you go, you're not crying because you know you can survive.
yeah,
I think it's really important that people understand how money is made in the industry, why people say yes or no to working with someone, how to pitch yourself, how to market your skills, how to stay relevant. Those kind of things are really important.
yeah,
I don't think that art schools are really focusing on that as much as I'd love to see it. When I was in school, it definitely was not a thought. And I did go back to SCAD to be a career advisor for a year and a half. And I was, working with entrepreneurship um, endeavors for
yeah,
the university. So I know they're thinking about it, but really structuring a course around it or structuring a track like a program for students to follow, that's
yeah.
something else.
Yeah, no, that's such a great segue or a point that she made. Definitely, I think about that for my viewers, for those just tuning in, which is why I'm so excited to be having Chris Doe coming on to the show pretty
Holy
soon,
crap!
because I feel like that's really important thing that uh, artists and creatives lack so much. How do I price what I do? How do I value the skill that I have? So I'm super excited about that. And it was funny because he was asking me, well, what am I going to talk about? I'm saying, what you talk about is so important for a creator. They need to know how to price, how to talk to clients. For those ones that are looking to go the freelance route, and to do, in which most are, because it may take them a while to get into a studio, so they may be freelancing in between then. So they need to know how to price, how to talk to clients, how to structure things, how to really run a business, and they may really find out that that's the route they want to go into down the line. So, like I said, I'm glad you brought that up because I do feel like that's a definite
Yeah,
important thing to have.
done. You having Chris on the show is epic. I made it mandatory for every single person I career advise to watch his content.
I,
And it's
I
so instrumental. He is very generous with his
yeah,
information.
yes,
And I watch his videos today when I need to go back and reference things for working with clients or um,
yes.
presenting something. I think it's incredible.
Yes, yes. Like I said, it took me a while. I did a lot of courting with Chris, but I finally finally got him on, and I'm so excited about it.
Congratulations!
But he, like I said, I'm like you. I consume his content just all the time because, especially as a business owner, entrepreneur, it's definitely something that you need to listen to and get value from because he shares a lot of great information, a lot of great information. So
Mhm.
definitely, you'll not want to miss that episode for sure. Moving forward, what is your kind of uh, vision and plan for mall moving forward into the future? How are you looking to expand it? What is your kind of idea and dream for taking it?
So I have an upcoming dream, and then I have like big dream. Upcoming dream, what we're working on right now is courses. So there are a lot of people that come and they ask the same questions over and over. And depending on how much time any of the people that are working with me, like myself or the representatives, have, we answer those questions. It's usually custom for each artist, and we found a way now to make courses where students and people who didn't go to school but are still studying, so I call them students still, can go through and learn more about how to get into the industry. And because we don't just cater to artists, there are courses for people who want to start making an animated production. So if you want to pitch your first show, if you want to make your first video or your first whatever it is, helping you go through those steps. And so that's the biggest pivot that I think is really going to take off with my animation life. But big dream is that there are resources for everyone and there aren't barriers to keeping people from getting it. Right now, the biggest barrier that I find is money. And it's not just for people in the United States, it's for people from countries where, they don't have the equipment, they don't have the trainers, they don't have the universities, they don't have all of that. How do we get resources into their hands to where they can tell their stories and continue to grow the industry?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that is what we're working on for Big
Awesome.
Story. Every single person gets to tell it.
Awesome, awesome. I'm definitely looking forward to that because, like I said, I have ideas of my own that you just need to get knowledge on I've never pitched anything to like a thing, a movie or anything
Mhm.
or idea. So knowing that definitely helps. Um, are you are you starting to see and more and more people of color. Like you said, you were from the Caribbean, coming over. It was very, it was challenging kind of getting yourself ready. Are you starting to see more and more people of color, especially more women of color, start to kind of find their way into this space?
Yes, and funny enough, I see this boom happening after the summer of 2020 during the Black Lives Matters marches,
Yeah.
um, when more studios and instructors and leaders who were in the industry started to say, "Oh, what? Black people are having problems getting in,"
We've been telling you
and
that for a
started to
while.
yeah, listening to what some of those barriers are. Um, so I start seeing more and more people get opportunities. It's strange because there are some companies that I feel are great with diversity. They look for people who are qualified in several spaces instead of just the same spaces they've been going to before. And just by virtue of doing that, they get a more diverse pool. And
Yeah.
then there are other companies that just grab a face and say, okay, yeah, we check that box off. And those people don't last very long because the environment is not suitable
Yeah.
and because that person is not getting the support they need while they're in that position. So I do see more people of color, more women getting into the animation space. Um, one, because they see it as a viable option. When you see other people like you feel like this is attainable.
Yeah.
I like to think about, I had a friend when I was in school, she played football, and I thought, what a silly thing to do. Don't you know that there's a cap for success for women? There's no point in you getting to something that you're going to get kicked out of the second you're ready to get serious.
Yeah.
And now, it's a little bit easier, not a lot easier, but a little bit easier to be taken seriously as someone who is a football player and female.
Yeah.
And in a regard not as strongly as that, there is space for women and people of color to be taken more seriously in animation.
Yeah, no, for sure, and it's definitely not an easy thing to be the first to try something that
Hmm.
you're hoping breaks that mold for sure. Um, we've kind of talked about this before. You're a service brat, not a negative term, but you're a service brat that's moved
It's true.
around, type of thing. And when we got to talking, when we first connected, you like traveling and you like moving around and stuff like that. How has kind of, and now the term digital nomad is really kind
Hmm.
of popular because as long as you have a good internet connection and a laptop, you're able to do what you need to do if it's online. How has that served you, and what has traveling around kind of done for you, as it pertains to feeding into your passion, your work, and what you do?
Being able to work remotely has helped keep me in the industry. I can't say it any more plainly than that. Uh, Around the time when, say, March 2020 is when the nation really got shook up with the pandemic.
Yeah.
But before that, I wasn't doing so great health wise at
Mm.
all. And even before that, when I was working in studio, I had so many incidences that would happen. Like I went blind in my right eye at one point. I lost hearing in my right ear. It was just like so many crazy things. I got scans and found arthritis in my wrist and in my neck and in my spine.
Wow.
There was a time I couldn't walk and I had to like be laid out, physically laid out for a
Yeah.
while and then learn to walk again with a walker. And there's no way I could do that in an office. There's no way
No.
you're allowed to be human and break down in an office.
Yeah.
Um, so when studios started saying, "Oh, we're gonna figure out a way to still get our work done, but with the artist at home," I thought, "Hallelujah!" How many times have I been in a studio where I physically could not come to work, and they just said, "Oh, well, that's it. You're not gonna get paid. We can't figure out anything," and it just it blew my mind. One of the reasons, like one of the pushes for me to start my company while I was in studio was that physically I would not be able to continue sitting at a desk like this or
Yeah.
like this with my mouse for much longer. I knew
Yeah.
that there's an end date for that because physically it's too taxing. And so it's unfortunate that it doesn't matter how creative you are, if you cannot sit upright in a seat next to people, this far apart, then that's the determining factor for you being able to work in the industry.
No.
That's not right because
No.
there's so many people you're going to miss out on.
Yeah.
And being able to work remotely means not only do I get to see the world now, but I get to work how I work best.
Yeah.
When I work best, I get to take care of my human shell
Yeah.
as I tell our stories.
Yeah. Yeah. Now I think that was one of the like, if you can say that, bright spots about the pandemic is it really did give people, one, the opportunity to kind of step back and reflect about what was important to them, and two, it showed companies that, hey, if you really work at it, you can still be profitable, productive, even more productive because you're allowing people to work, in their own environment, kind of in their own space, type of thing. Obviously, there are some positions where you need to be in studio or in there, but allowing people that opportunity is better for their sanity in a lot of cases, for sure. So being able to work remotely and be that kind of digital nomad and being free. And that's why I was saying I'm definitely going to be tapping into you when I'm ready to, because I'm working on getting
Yeah.
renewing my passport, because I really want to travel and get around. What's some of the places that you've had the most fun and enjoyed traveling
Mm.
and experiencing?
You know what? It's funny because going all around the world, you would assume I would name all these exotic places, but the most fun I've had is in the United States. I love San Francisco. It's my favorite city in the entire country, and then next is Atlanta. And
Wow.
those places, they really are welcoming. They are romantic. You get to see the beautiful sights and feel the breeze coming in with the gorgeous like skies, and it's incredible. Oh, and the food is fantastic in
Oh
Atlanta.
man. Now I've been to San Francisco. I like it. I don't know if I'd want to live there, but it's a nice place to visit. Only place I've been in Atlanta, which I think everybody would agree, don't go to the airport. So don't go to the Atlanta airport. But obviously, Atlanta's kind of become a mecca for Hollywood now and talent.
Mhm.
It just seems like a really creative space for sure. But that's interesting. Of all the places that you've been, you know, around the world, your favorite ones are here in the States, for sure. What's been kind of the best piece of advice that somebody's given you that's really served you?
One thing that I go back to just for my life, not just for my career, is
Yeah.
Jim Rohn. He said, you can have more than you've ever had because you can be more than you've ever been. And I reverse that and I say it to myself in all kinds of ways. I say, I can be more than I've ever been. So that means I can have more than I can ever have. I can learn more than I've ever learned, which means I can achieve more than I've ever achieved. I just say that all the time. And I am a dry erase junkie. One thing I travel with is my dry erase board because there are so many things you cannot pack in your bag. But this ability to reimagine a space temporarily, I mean, really temporarily, with dry
Yeah.
erase is incredible. And right here are the windows. All the windows have writing on it. And I have advice from my business coach. My favorite piece of advice from her was stop being so dramatic. And it has served me well in life. Whenever I'm writing an email, she's like, don't gush over it and think about what are they going to think and what am I going to say that's going to make me seem like this. She's like, no, just write the email. It's so helpful.
No, and you all know what I do on that. I drop bombs on when people drop bombs a nugget. I love Jim Rohn. Like I said, I've watched a lot of his content, and like you said, he's have has said a lot of great quotes that I still go back to. If you want more, you have to become more.
Yes.
Like I said, you are the gatekeeper to the door of your mind. Just dropping a lot of stuff that you have to sit and really ruminate for it to really sink in, for sure. Um, what's been the biggest challenge? Obviously, there's been a lot, with you starting your company, going through school, coming over from the Caribbean. What's been the biggest challenge for you um, so far in this journey?
I would say my own physical being is the most challenging thing because you can find a great mentor and follow them and go down an incredible path. But if you physically don't feel well, if you
Mm,
don't have that energy level, if your mind is frantic or racing or whatever it is that people go through, if you have those kind of elements, it doesn't matter, all the opportunities you have in front of you if you cannot physically do them.
yeah.
And so for me, in the past, like when I was in my 20s, what I would do was batch. I would do as many things as possible. I would work as long as I could, as hard as I could. And then the times when I couldn't work, I would be covered by all that work I did ahead of time. And so there wasn't, this huge notice of, oh, Allyssa hasn't really been doing much lately. And then as I got older, those energy spurs got less and less. And so that's challenging, figuring out how I'm going to do that. And I have to say, Veronica Vicenti, my old business coach, she is fantastic because outside of just looking at my business and giving me ideas of what to do, she focused a lot on my health. and gave me ideas of how I can get my own self, my machine up to par so that I
Yeah.
can continue. And I think if you are going to move forward in this industry, which I mean, honestly, people don't often last, into a ripe old age in the animation industry because of physical elements, because of needs to be with your family, because of wanting to go on vacation and
Yeah.
all sorts of stuff. Really look at yourself holistically and pay attention to things that are not being attended to. Like if
Yeah.
you don't exercise, try doing that. If you don't eat well, try doing that. If you don't sleep, I would say the same thing. So the thing that I would say is the biggest hurdle is the human suit that I wear to do my work.
Yeah. No, so important for sure because, like you said, I think a lot of people, especially a lot of creatives, get caught up in sitting in front of a computer and doing what they got to do and not think about their own health, both physically and emotionally. You get a lot of people that just get burned out because they're doing so much work and got so much coming at them. Um, Definitely, it's something that you have to keep in the forefront of your mind for sure. Just to take care. If you're not healthy and keeping yourself healthy, you're not going to earn any money. So for sure. What it outside of that, what advice would you give somebody younger that's looking to kind of do what you do, and what are the kind of traits that you think a person would need in order to excel in this space of spotting talent, recruiting people, connecting people? What do you feel are the key components and key talents that people would need? Somebody younger that's just looking to get in.
If you're looking to run your own agency where you find talent and when you are working with clients, you're the person who consults with them and helps them get their project made and does the project management. If you're looking to get into that, it's really important for you to understand the entire pipeline and the entire industry because clients are going to come to you and ask for an animation, and you're going to have to ask more questions to figure out that they want to pitch it or that they want to market it somewhere, and understand those two industries so that you can better serve them in the work that you provide. I would say it's important for you to start trying things. So don't wait on your friend to say yes to do your storyboards. Do
Mm,
your own storyboards, start doing your own animations, start making your own characters, start learning it on your own, and then start bringing people in. Find someone online who's willing to allow you to work on their project. Find someone who's willing to work on your project. If it's something where you're just trading experience or you're just working to get feedback, that's a lot easier than asking to be hired at a company. So those are great ways to get started. And when you're learning more about recruiting, you have to learn the law. There are so many resources now on YouTube and on other platforms where you can learn more about what legally you can ask in an interview. Like you're not going to ask someone their age and a lot of intrusive questions about their background, anything that could be turned into a discriminating factor. Those kind of things you need to learn before you start recruiting so you don't get into trouble. And then finding talent is the fun part because you get to go on social media, go online, go to different events and meet people and talk about their process and their desires for their careers so that you can properly match them with clients.
yeah, no, for sure. Well, when you were coming, like I said, after you graduated, or maybe even before you went to SCAD, was there any misconception that you had in your head about what you saw, with the drawing of the
Mhm.
Bugs Bunny, and then the reality of getting into going to SCAD? And what was the big misconception for you that just like, oh, okay, this is wasn't expected this or didn't think this?
Yeah. My misconception about art school is that we were going to be super flowy and emotional and poetic and we'd be, just dancing around doing our art and loving it. I did not think that I would have any kind of contention towards doing my homework or that it would be a struggle or that I'd be more stressed out than I'd ever been in my life trying to complete things on a deadline and, meet all the requirements from the professor. When you go to art school, you don't just do art. You do history, math,
Yeah.
science, literature. You do all sorts of stuff like that. You pick apart other people's art and write critiques on it and write your own reviews of what you think they're doing. All that work is so much, and you still have to, spark that creativity and get something beautiful out to the class.
Yeah.
So that was a misconception that art school was going to be just fun. There are some fun moments, but I wouldn't say overall it's fun. At
But
least that
as
wasn't
it,
my experience.
but as it, like you said, they prep you for, really getting you prepared. So, do you feel like
Mhm.
there was not that much of a shock when you did get into the industry? Because, like you said, going to SCAD, it was a lot of work, a lot of stuff like that.
Mm.
Was it that
The
way when
most
you finally got into a job at a company doing that?
No, the most work I've ever done in my life was when I was at SCAD. I've never had to work that hard ever. And like not even close. I've never had to be that stressed out. And I think that that's not the case for a lot of art schools
Yeah.
because I went to Westland before then and it was not as stressful. I went to visit other universities and I spoke with the students there. It's not as stressful. It really depends on where you go as to what's going to be required of you.
Hmm.
And just because a place is less stressful doesn't mean it is less um, capable of preparing you for
Yeah.
your career.
Yeah. 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 I guess every place is different. Like I said, I've had on
Hmm.
quite a few scat artists, and I would have loved to have gone to scat, or I think that
After what I just
well
said?
well actually the first actually which I did get a partial scholarship. I didn't take it, which I was so stupid. Cal Arts. I had a
Oh my God.
yeah, I did.
Oh my God.
It ended up. I feel stupid for saying it, but it ended up going to the Art Institute, which I
I heard you can get your money back now.
really I need to
Yeah.
I need to see about that because yeah, Art Institute. Uh, yeah, that's about all I'm gonna say on that. So, but I did, like I said, my initial school that I wanted to go to was Cal Arts. But I
Hmm.
was like, from a small town, and at the time,
Yeah.
I did have family out there, but I didn't know them. So I was thinking, oh, dang, I don't know anybody in California. Having to go out to California, it's so far away from where I live, that type of thing. So that was the only reason I didn't go, and I ended up coming to the Art Institute of Houston. But at any rate, I regret that. But it is what it is. It takes you on a different path. But the good thing, what do you think about? Like I said, now that there are a lot of great online schools, like
Yes.
Animation Mentor, Nomen, you know, um, great online schools. Do you feel one way or the other, or that it depends on the individual as opposed to whether they go to a brick and mortar school and have that in person experience, or whether they do online? Do you think it would have been much more challenging had you gone the online route for learning animation, um, as opposed to going to a brick and mortar school, having a teacher that you're sitting down in front of and being around other students?
I love online schools. I love them so much. And as someone who's putting out courses, I love online education because you can learn on your own schedule. You can learn from wherever you are in the world. And I think that's incredible. I think where it will lack, and I think it always will lack there unless it is paired with something else, is the community aspect. When I was going into college, I could barely send an email.
Yeah,
So for me to figure things out in a program, I have more questions than just the program. I have questions about the computer. So having a instructor in front of me or classmates beside me to help me with that was, that's instrumental in me getting through my classes. If someone is a self learner, you've got your own drive, your own initiative, and you've got access to people you can ask questions to, whether that's in that specific class or somewhere else. Maybe it's a Reddit forum.
yeah,
Maybe it is some other. outlet where people connect with each other, then you're in a very good space. But if you are someone who is slow to ask questions, you don't even know what questions you should be asking, you have maybe anxiety about talking to people about anything, you need someone to actually look over your shoulder to make sure you stay on task, or
Yeah.
to give you a directive because you can't create your own outline, then yeah, a brick and mortar school is going to be a lot better. And
Yeah.
there are people like that. I started out as someone who was not going to raise my hand as frequently if I felt it was going to cause embarrassment. And that's not great for an online school
Yeah.
because you need to be willing to put yourself out there.
Yeah. Yeah. No, for sure. And like I said, the good thing is, it expands it to those that may not necessarily have the ability to come over here, or, can afford to go to an online or a brick and mortar school right off the bat, and still get really great educational training. But
Yeah, and
again,
you're going
like,
to need to, I'm sorry, at some point you're going to need to go to an online school. And
yeah,
there are so many people that I know in the industry who went to brick and mortar,
brick and
myself
mortar.
included,
Yeah.
and you still have to learn online. You can't stop learning, and unless you have time to go back to college and shell out for those tuition fees, you're going to have to figure out how you're going to supplement that education.
Yeah, yeah. Somebody had mentioned that the other day. There's a lot of people, they go to a brick and mortar school, but they still take online classes, or do these online schools to augment their skills and keep their skills up. So that's, one of the benefits of it there as well. Again, for those that have just been jumping in and tuning into the show, we've been having a amazing conversation with my friend Allyssa A Lewis. I gotta make sure I throw the
Hmm.
A in there. Uh,
Yes, thank you.
recruiter and animator, for sure. We've been having a fun conversation. I want to make sure that we show her information, because you definitely want to get connected with her, for sure. We hop on over to the scene. Awesome, awesome. You can connect with her at her website, Allyssa A Lewis.com, her business site, My Animation Life Mall. Check it out for sure. If you are an animator or a company looking for talent, you can definitely connect with her there. Also, looking forward to the training that she's going to be having rolling out pretty soon in the courses. And all of this information will be on the show notes for sure. So you definitely want to make sure that you hop on over to the YouTube channel and check that out for sure. Allyssa, this has been such a fun conversation, and can't thank you enough for coming on and sharing your journey, your knowledge, and just your all around great personality. Like I said, that's why I knew I had to have you on the show, because I knew you'd make a great guest for sure. But again, I cannot thank you enough for being a part of the Color of Motion family, and can't wait to have you back on the show for sure. I know you're getting ready to embark on your international journeys, uh, for sure.
I am, you know that.
But definitely, like I said, you're always, 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 always welcome on the show, to highlight whatever it is that you're doing, whatever it is that Maul is doing. Definitely want to highlight that for the viewers.
Thank you. I really appreciate you inviting me and, being so wonderful and asking these questions and supporting the creative community with putting so many people out there.
Well, I try and do my best for sure. Uh, if you could hang out in the green room while I close out the show, I'd appreciate it. Give me a chance to talk to you a little bit before you jump off. But again, everybody, please, like I said, help me thank my guest and friend Allyssa A Lewis, from being on the show. Hang out for just 1 second, Allyssa. Just 1 second while I close this out. everybody. Like I said, this was another amazing episode. I hope you had enjoyed it as much as I did. Like I said, Alyssa's such a fun person, got a great personality, and super smart in what she does and the things that she's doing. So definitely, like I said, I hope you got some value from the show. I know you did. And always appreciate you, supporting the show and supporting everything that I've been doing with this. I can't do this without you, the viewers. I definitely can't do it without the friends that come